Welcome to today's webinar. Today is the fourth call launch webinar for the European City Facility. We'll have a webinar composed by 4 different parts. Here's the agenda for you to know what to expect. We will start with an introduction on the European City Facility and where do we stand now with the fourth call opening today. Then we have a more in-depth presentation about the application process and the eligibility criteria to apply to the UCF, followed by a final presentation on what happened in terms of support and after the investment concept preparation phase. So all the activities we have planned for the next phase of the facility. At the end of the presentations, there will be 20 minutes Q&A session for you to raise your question. Feel free to drop them in the chat throughout the duration of the webinar, or keep them for the very end, in which you will be also allowed to unmute yourself and ask them directly to us. So without further ado, I give the floor to my colleague Francisco for the introduction on the UCF. Please, Francisco, go ahead.
Thanks, David. David, I will start sharing my screen as well. Can you see it?
Yes, Francisco.
Thank you, David. So hello everyone. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this webinar on the launch of the fourth call of the European City Facility. So my goal here is really to give you an overview of what is happening in the European City Facility and what is European City Facility. I believe that many of you already know and are aware of what we support and what we are having been doing for the last almost 3 years. So the European Union has very ambitious goals for climate and energy transition for 2030, and then for the climate neutrality even for 2050. And one of the flagship policies and initiatives that is the European Green Deal sets for these and all the packages that are associated with the European Green Deal, the Fit for 55, also now with the REPowerEU and the Resilience and Recovery Plan. Expects or plans a huge ambition, a huge investment on energy and transition, and the European Investment Bank expects that there is a massive amount of investment that is needed to achieve the climate and energy ambitious goals from the European Commission. Together, the public funding available is not enough, and there is a big need to mobilize private investment to finance the different energy and climate projects throughout Europe. This brings also to the capacity and the staff needs on the municipalities and on the different cities and all the cities across Europe, and mainly going to the medium and small-sized cities, where we still face limited human resources and capacities. The municipal staff is currently normally too busy with the daily management of the cities, and there is hardly capacity from really doing other kinds of work, but also only in terms of the skills that are needed for the implementation and successful implementation of the different climate and energy projects. There is also a conservative approach to project finance, and what many cities say and show is that they still base their financing and of the projects, energy and climate projects, based on funding, so municipal budgets and also in European grants. And there is still a lot to be done really on mobilizing and private finance in the cities, and how the cities deal with this situation. also in the preparation of projects and project developments that is really not in the core, and the cities normally don't invest on this project preparation, and they go normally for the project implementation and really on the work and the implementation of the work. So here there is a couple of barriers that still also needs to be worked also to really to help the cities to capture the financing that exists and that is also ready and can be used for energy and climate. And the European City Facility is really here to try to give this push, these resources for cities, municipalities, groupings of cities, municipalities, public entities, aggregating municipalities, but overall in word cities to get this support that and this I would say oxygen that they need to really get their projects ideas and their climate ambitions more mature, to really to also increase confidence from financiers, investors, to really to support and to finance the implementation of the different energy and climate projects. So the European City Facility is here to provide financial support in one side and technical support in the other side. The financial support, and this is what brings us here today for the launch of one of our calls. The financial support, we provide 60,000 euros, a lump sum of 60,000 euros that will allow the municipalities, the cities, to develop their investment concept, that my colleagues will explain what the investment concept is about. And then we also have this technical support through all the life cycle of the European City Facility, from the application side, supporting cities to have a successful application to get the finance from the European City Facility, and on a later stage, through a series of capacity building, communities of practice, matchmaking events, that the goal is to bring from the investment concept side to the investment of the project and implementation. So the European City Facility really needs and wants to really fill this gap between your climate plans, visions, and the finance and implementation of the projects that you have and you want to implement. As you know, we work with the calls for applications, and the calls for application, we work in 3 parallel calls. So and that we cluster countries in their region. So we allow that, and we allow that countries from the same region or same climatic region, I would say, countries that are more similar in terms of needs can compete with each other and to try to avoid the risk that a city in Cyprus will have or compete with a city in Iceland. Just very briefly, so we are opening now today the 4th call, and I will give you the details a bit later. So we have until now financed 165 cities and groupings of cities and public entities that aggregate cities. So we have most of the countries already in Europe, or the eligible countries have already beneficiaries in the European City Facility. Unfortunately, we have not yet covered all of the countries, or so we are still waiting or missing some applications. We have applications from these countries in the past, but beneficiaries from some limited number of countries that we would really appreciate and really like if they would be among our beneficiaries for this 4th call of the European City Facility. Just very briefly, and to announce a bit the beneficiaries of the 3rd call. So we have in Central and Eastern Europe, we have Poland, And Hungary with, I would say, I don't want to say the champions, but the countries with a bigger number of beneficiaries. We see here in the figure the groupings and also the single applicants. If you move a bit more to the northwestern part of Europe, we see the Netherlands also with a considerable number of applicants, Sweden and Belgium from the third call. If you see in Ireland, you have, for instance, when you see this icon that is this circle, it's these two circles. We have the public entity aggregating municipalities, and then we have groupings as well. And finally, in the Southern European region, we have 6 beneficiaries from Portugal and from Italy, and 3 from Greece, Spain, and 1 from Cyprus. So this are the beneficiaries that are already in this third, that were selected from the third call. And we are launching today our fourth call that we have a budget available of almost 3 million euros, and we will finance 48 investment concepts in all eligible countries. So, as you might have seen already, and if you click on our website of the European City Facility, the fourth call is open. So we just opened today the fourth call, and it will be open for a longer period of time. Normally we had, for the last 2 calls, a period of about a bit more than 2 months. And because of a summer period, we trust that a longer period will allow more cities and groupings to get motivated to apply for the European City Facility fourth call that will end on the 30th of September at 5 p.m. Brussels times. So this is what I wanted to share. So the call is officially open, the fourth call, and we invite everyone that is eligible, of course, to apply for this to this call. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francisco. We will now move on with our second presentation, which will touch upon the details on how to apply to the UCF and which are the eligibility criteria and the evaluation process behind each of your applications. So please, my colleague Carolina Borges can take the floor and start with her presentation.
I will also share my screen. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so just a second. Okay. So good morning, everyone. My name is Carolina Borges. I work as a consultant at Adelphi. We're a public policy consultancy based in Berlin, in Germany. And we're also part of the consortium that implements and operates the European City Facility. Today, I'll present you the application process for the UCF and how the applications are evaluated by our evaluation team. So starting by the overall application procedure, we have a simple application process divided in 2 steps. First, applicants will take the online eligibility check. This consists of a simple questionnaire with 5 questions. To be eligible for UCF support, you must be able to answer yes to all the 5 requirements in the eligibility check. Applicants passing the eligibility check will then receive the login details for the UCF website user zone, where they can start preparing their full application. The full application consists of the application form to be filled directly online in the UCF website user zone and the supporting documents, which I will present more in detail later. Once the call is closed and the application period is over, all the submitted applications are then evaluated by a dedicated team. and the applications with the highest scores will be selected to sign the grant agreement with the UCF and to receive the financial and technical support. So now going more into detail in the process, we have here the 5 eligibility criteria that must be fulfilled to apply for the UCF. So first, the applicant must be a municipality or local authority, a grouping of municipalities and local authorities, or a local public entity aggregating municipalities and local authorities. We'll also come back to that a bit later in the presentation. Second, the applicant must be located in one of the EU27 member states or in one of the EEA-FTA states of Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway, or in the United Kingdom. Third, applicants must have a politically approved CAP, CCAP, or plan of similar ambition in place. I will also get back to what we understand as a plan of similar ambition. Fourth, applicants must provide a proof of political commitment to develop the investment concept. This must be signed by the mayor or by another relevant political administrative. And last, applicants must commit to the monitoring period of the UCF, which lasts for 2 years after the submission of the investment concept. So if the applicant can answer yes to these 5 questions you see on the slide, he can move forward with registering to the UCF website user zone and starting his application. At this point, no documents are required. It's just a really simple check. So moving forward then with to the full application, the application of the UCF consists of 2 parts. As I said, we have the online application form, which is filled by the applicants directly in the UCF website user zone. It includes 3 sections: the identification of the applicant, the development of the investment concept, and the implementation of the project. And we have 6 supporting documents that must be submitted as annexes to the application. The first, A1, is the CAP, CCAP, or plan of similar ambition. So what we require here is a covenant of mayors, CAP, CCAP, or a plan that has similar targets to that. So we understand the plan of similar ambition as having energy and climate targets for at least the year of 2020, and it must be politically approved in the municipality. For all the other annexes, so from A2 to E, we have templates available. These templates must be mandatorily used for the application. So do not create your own documents. You can use the templates we provide. We have A2, which is a summary of the plan submitted in A1. This includes the main information and the targets of the plan. Then Annex B is the letter of support to the project. So here we need the signature of the mayor or another relevant political representative of the applicant. And Annex C is the self-declaration form. Here it's important to highlight that we have 2 different templates for this form. One template is for the application by municipalities, local authorities, and their groupings. And the other template is for local public entities aggregating municipalities and local authorities. These self-declaration forms have different contents, so it's very important to choose the right template for your application. And then finally, we have annexes D and E, which are Excel files for the calculation of the expected energy savings and renewable energy production and the expected investment size of the project. We have made some adjustments to this template for Annex D and E, mostly to facilitate the filling of the templates, but you can also use, if you have already submitted an application before in other calls, you can also use the other templates if they're already ready. So again, important to remember, apart from Annex 1, from the plan, all the documents must be submitted in English and must make use of the templates we provide. So here a little more in detail, the information requested on the application form. As I mentioned, we have 3 sections. On section 1, you must provide some identification information, so the name of the municipality or local public entity, or the lead applicant in case of a grouping. We ask here also for the LAU and its street code according to Eurostat, population size, and so on. On section 2, we ask for some information on how the applicant plans to develop the investment concept. So this includes how the UCF grant will be allocated. So if for in-house or for external experts, which activities are planned to be funded by the grant, and what are the foreseen governance structure and strategy for stakeholder engagement. Last, on section 3, we asked for some information about the implementation of the project. So what are the sectors target? What are the measures to be implemented? What is the expected investment size and the impacts, and whether the project has the potential to be upscaled or replicated in other contexts. So here we have a few tips and points to take into consideration when preparing our application, which we want to highlight for you based on our experience and the common mistakes we identified in the last calls. So again, the application form and all the annexes must be submitted in English. Cannot stress this enough. This is very important. The only document that can be submitted in national language is the CAP, CCAP, or plan of similar ambition. Second, when adding the population size to the application, please make sure that the whole figure is stated. So we're not asking here for the figure in thousands or millions of inhabitants, but really for the entire number. For the description of the governance structure and stakeholder engagement strategy, these are quite important in the evaluation. So our tip is that you check the question in the application form and that you really address all the components that are required in the question. This is how the evaluators will also check this criteria. So one common mistake that we have actually managed to reduce along the 3 calls, but still happens regards the investment size. So when we ask for the investment size in the application, we refer here to the total investments in sustainable energy, so the total size of the project, rather than the UCF grant. So don't use this field here to add 60,000 euro grant, but to really calculate the whole size of investments in sustainable energy for the project. Last, for those who are watching that already applied in the previous calls, this is a new requirement for the 4th call, and I will also talk a little more about it later on. So in the application form, applicants can indicate the impacts of the project in terms of energy savings and renewable energy production, both in gigawatt hour per year. In the 4th call, for applications to be accepted, the impacts on energy savings must be higher than the impacts on renewable energy production. So that means we will not accept applications that have most impacts on renewable energies. But as I said, I will come back to that also. So in terms of the activities that can be funded with the 60,000 euro of the UCF grant, as Francisco mentioned, this is aimed at supporting the activities necessary for the development of the investment concept. The investment concept, we understand in the UCF as a document that will translate your project idea into financial language. And this grant is aimed to finance and to support the activities necessary for you to get there in a sound investment concept. So the grant can be allocated both for in-house staff or for external experts and subcontractors, and it can fund different kinds of activities that are necessary for your investment concept for better understanding the project. And this include feasibility studies, engineering analysis, legal and financial analysis, and also social or market studies, but also other documents, other products that you want to develop. So as I mentioned here, coming back a bit to these different types of applicants, we would like to highlight here some specificities of applying as a grouping or as a local public entity. Starting by the groupings, the UCF really encourages municipalities and local authorities to get together in a group for the application. Applications by groupings are appreciated in the evaluation process, and they have higher chances of achieving good scores since they bundle different investments in different locations. To apply as a grouping, one municipality of the grouping must be appointed as the lead applicant in the application. And if the grouping is selected, this is the municipality that will sign the grant agreement and will receive the grant amount. The 60,000 euro of the grant is awarded then for the whole grouping rather than to each member. So it's only one time 60,000 euro. In applications by grouping, regarding the CAP, CCAP, only the lead municipality must have a plan, or the whole grouping can have a joint plan if that's the case. Moving now to the applications by local public entities aggregating municipalities. These entities may vary from country to country. They have different names and different organizations in different countries. To facilitate the application, we have a non-exhaustive list of eligible public entities per country in the website and also in our guidelines for applicants. If you check the table and you're still not sure if that's your case, you can always contact us through the UCF help desk to confirm the eligibility. As I mentioned, it's very important here for local public entities to use the appropriate template for the self-declaration form. This is a different template than the one for groupings and for municipalities. And in the form, the applicant must be able to check all the requirements and confirm that they are eligible public entity. These applicants also are required to have an unpolitically approved CAP, CCAP, or plan of similar ambition, and this should cover the whole geographical area of the applicant. Last, these local public entities cannot apply as groupings, so groupings of metropoles and this kind of entity will not be accepted for the application. And now finally getting to the evaluation process. Once the call for applications is closed, a dedicated evaluation team will go through all the applications, and this also takes place in a two-step process. The first step is the documents check, in which the evaluators will verify if all the supporting documents have been submitted and if they include the content that is required. So here we'll check, for example, if the correct self-declaration form was used, if it has been completely filled, if the letter of support is signed, and so on. In case of incomplete documents, the application cannot move forward in the evaluation process, and the applicant is informed directly through the UCF website user zone. This happens before the evaluation process is concluded, so at the stage of documents check. The applications passing the documents check are then fully evaluated based on our 5 evaluation criteria, which remain the same from the previous calls. These criteria are divided into categories. We have criteria of category A, which are evaluated both quantitatively and qualitatively. These are A1 investment size and A2 energy savings, and includes here also the renewable energy generation. And we have criteria of category B, which are evaluated only qualitatively, and they include the proposed governance structure, the strategy for stakeholder engagement, and the alignment with the UCF objectives, which is an overarching criterion. So each application is evaluated by 2 evaluators. Each of them assigns for each criterion a score ranging from 0 to 5. For criteria in category B, we have a quality threshold of 3 out of 5 points for the application to be accepted. Applications with less than 3 points in one of the criteria of category B cannot be selected. For the criteria in category A, differently from the previous calls, the quality threshold will not apply. There is no minimum score. And the final score per criterion is determined by the median of the scores given by the 2 evaluators, and then we calculate the final score based on the scores per criterion. Once the evaluation is finalized, the applicant will be informed of the results via the UCF website user zone, and there they can access a feedback report, including their overall score and overall feedback, as well as the scores and the feedback for each of the evaluation criteria. The selected applicants will be invited then to sign the grant agreement with the UCF and to start working on the development of their investment concept. And in case this does not happen for one of the selected applicants, the UCF will contact the next applicant with the highest score on the waiting list. On the previous calls, our waiting list was organized according to the regional calls, so that the applicant with the highest score in the region was contacted in case the grant agreement was not signed by one of the selected applicants. For the fourth call, in order to avoid that some of the available funds are not allocated, we will have a cross-regions waiting list. So that means that the funds will be assigned always to the next application with the highest score in the ranking, regardless of the region. And to conclude my presentation, we would like to highlight here for applicants that have already applied in the previous calls, what has changed now for the fourth call. So first, as I mentioned earlier, in the fourth UCF call, we will place more focus on energy efficiency in the selected projects. So considering the relevance of this topic for the EU and for achieving the EU energy and climate targets, only applications with higher impacts on energy savings than on the generation of renewable energy will be accepted. They must have higher impacts, so more than 50% on energy savings. Then we have a change to the weightage of criteria of categories A and B in the calculation of the final score. In the previous calls, the indicators of investment size and energy savings, so criteria A, had a weight of 60% in the calculation of the final score. We changed this, and in the fourth call, categories A and B will have the same weight in the final score, so 50-50. Then what I also mentioned, that the quality threshold that previously applied to all the criteria will now apply only for criteria B. That means no minimum score and no minimum points for investment size and energy savings for the application to be selected. And last, what I just mentioned, instead of working with 3 regional waiting lists, this time around we'll have one single cross-region list. So this is it from my side. You can always find more detailed information about the application and the evaluation process on the UCF website, and especially on the guidelines for applicants. This is a very important document. And we are also quite quick and efficient in replying at the UCF help desk. So don't hesitate to write us there if you have any questions or any problems with the application. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carolina. And let's jump straight away into our next presentation on the IT side of the application and what you will need to look at when approaching the UCF from an IT perspective. And I pass the floor to Caterina Mareva, our colleague from Envirus. Please, Caterina, the floor is yours.
Hello, I hope you can hear me well and see the presentation.
All good.
So, dear all, I would like to welcome to the fourth EUCF call on behalf of Envirus, which is part of the core management team, and within others is also responsible for the maintenance of the EUCF website user zone. So this presentation will be dedicated on the EUCF journey from the IT perspective.
Caterina, presentation is not in presentation mode, so
it's not in presentation mode.
No.
Let me just see what I can do here. Do you see it now?
No, we still see the PowerPoint interface. Try maybe to reshare your screen.
Okay.
When you reshare the screen, Zoom asks you to select among different windows open on your PC if you have more than one. And there you should select PowerPoint.
It is selected, but I will try again. What about now?
No, we still see the PowerPoint. Let's do the following. I can share the slides for you. You just tell me to move on forward when you're ready. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yes. So thank Thank you. So you can jump directly to the next slide. So sorry for this. Yes, so I will just present you here what is important for the EUCF journey from the IT perspective. So this is a very important part, especially for those that for the first time meet with the EUCF project and want to apply for the EUCF grant. So what is important here is that you will have to use the EUCF website user zone through the whole journey. So except for the application phase, if you later on become an EUCF beneficiary, you will be using the EUCF website user zone also for the grant agreement signing and the development of the IC and the implementation of the investment concept for IC. So we can go on with the next slide, Davida. Thank you. So as Carolina already presented this part, the first step in the EUCF journey is the EUCF Eligibility Check. So once, if you want to register to the EUCF user zone, you will have to first do the EUCF Eligibility Check, and these are these 5 requirements for which you have to answer positively, or you have to answer yes to all 5 requirements. Once you answer successfully to all these 5 requirements, then you can proceed with the next step, which is basically you will become eligible for the EUCF project, and you can then register to the EUCF user zone. You can register to the EUCF user zone within these 2 options. The first option is you can register as a municipality, local authority, or their grouping of municipalities or grouping of local authorities, and then you can register to the second option, local public entities, aggregating municipalities or local authorities. Within these 2 options, the requirements are basically the same, but what is different here is that if you register as municipality, local authority, or their grouping, you would have to do this. You will have to put this input, or you will have to, except for the NUTS-3 code, you will have to also include the LAW code. If you register as a local public entity, instead of the LAW code, you will have to input the tax identification number or an equivalent number to it. We can go on with the next slide, please. So this is what you will see once you enter the registration form. This, I believe, for some of you that already registered and already applied to the EUCF project, you already have done this part, but this is important to pay attention if you are a new applicant to the EUCF project. So once you open the registration form, you will see that you will firstly have to choose if you are a municipality or local authority, or then if you are a public entity. So if you see, there are other requirements which are basically basic for any kind of application form, where you will have to fulfill the name of the municipality or your organization, department, country, etc. But what I would like to point out here is that if you are municipality or local authority, you will have to fulfill you will have to input the LAW code and NUTS-3 code. If you are a grouping of municipalities or local authorities, you will have to include here also the LAW codes of the other municipalities. So basically, you will have one lead applicant, which is starting the registration form, or which did the registration form, and then the other LAW codes of the other municipalities will be included here too. We can continue with the next slide, please. If you are public entity and you do the registration form for a public entity, what you can see here is that directly when you click on public entity, it will show to you that you will have to fill the tax or registration number and also the NUTS 3 code. Another part here is that also you will not have to, there is no allow code that you will have to fulfill, but what I would like to say is that it's very important to pay attention how you fill this registration form, or especially what type of applicant you are, because this is going to be saved, and later on you will not be able to change this part. So through all the process or all the EUCF journey, you will stay as public entity or municipality. And as well, I would like also to point out to pay attention on to be also what you choose here or what type of applicant you are would also be important to have the self-declaration form the same. If you're registered as municipality, or local authority or grouping, then the self-declaration form, which is the part of the annexes, would have to be filled correctly. So we can go next to the slide. Yes, thank you. So after you register to the EUCF user zone, then you will receive a login information, and basically you will receive an email where you will have access to the EUCF website user zone, and you can create your username and password. And then you will be able to go to the next step of the EUCF journey. So the next step is the creation of the application. So once again, if you are a new applicant to the EUCF website user zone, you will see this, and basically, as you can see in the left corner, you will be able to start your new application. This new application is you as a local admin or the person that registered to the EUCF website user zone, you will be able to create the new application. This local admin or creator of the registration is also able to make possible for other users to access the EUCF user zone. So, for example, if you're a group of municipalities, the leading municipality is the local admin and it can make possible or create more users for the EUCF website user zone, and other municipalities or users can also access the EUCF website user zone. So the local admin can create the application, create more users, and submit the application, while the users or the other users under the local admin can modify or add some details to the application form. So with the next slide, I will just shortly say that here you will see in the full application form that you will have to, except for the type of applicant, then you will have to fill some requirements which are dedicated to the development of the investment concept, then to the investment size and the impacts. What is also important to mention here is that to the part that you will have to attach the annexes, for which Carolina already mentioned, then there are also in the user zone you will see templates and you will see links which will help you how to fill them and to have them or to have the correct forms. There are also actually previously, if you could see, there next to each requirement there is a blue circle, small blue circle with a question mark, where you can basically, whenever you will have problems to understand what is the requirement, you can basically go with the arrow to the question mark, and it will show to you a short explanation what is needed to fill in. Yes, then they're including some link to audios or videos, and also the context is all the time improving. So we can go to the next slide, please. So once you fill all the requirements in the application form, the local admin can submit the application. This I already mentioned before. And basically, also what I would like to mention here, if maybe you see that you can submit, save, validate also the application form. I would like just to explain that if you would like to, since you will be filling the application form, if you would like to just check what is missing or what is something, let's say, not correct inside, you can click validate, and with validate, it will show to you with marked with red what is missing there. So we can go to the next slide, please. So more or less, that was what is required, or how to proceed through the application form. And after the application is done, then your application will be ready to be evaluated from our evaluation team. And what is very important here is that through all this process, basically, while you prepare your applications, you fill your applications, and after that you can always contact us through the help desk, and we're always ready to help you with each of your queries and questions. So with the next slide, I can show you how basically how you can approach the EUCF help desk, and how you can fill or how your requirement or your question, you can kind of through it contact us. So on our EUCF facility website, you can, if you choose support, then you will find the help desk, and through the help desk you can choose what is the domain or what is the subject of your query, and there you can basically ask what you need to ask from us, and we'll help you through the help desk through all your journey. So I think more or less this is all what I wanted to say from basically for the part of the IT support and the maintenance of the EUCF facility user zone. And also would like to basically to wish you a happy journey and happy filling and successful filling of the application form. And we are here for any questions later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Katerina. Katerina, we'll just jump in now, being already sharing the slides and taking care of this last part of the presentation quickly, given we are a bit behind schedule, and this will only be an overview on the support available for cities throughout the journey, the UCF journey that has been clearly explained by Katerina and the colleagues prior to me. This so support available follows cities from the application phase to the design of their investment concept towards the final phase, which will be the leveraging of further investments based on the investment concept. So we're speaking of support available throughout the entire duration of your UCF journey. As Katerina just said, there's an help desk, which is a centralized point for you to queries. This works at the application phase. This works also at the beneficiary phase once you've already been awarded the UCF financial grant, and also works through the country experts, which is a national asset, let's say, that the UCF has in all member states. And I will explain a bit more in detail further what these entities do for you. Back on the help desk, here's a screenshot that's very crucial for us. That's why we insist a lot. Help desk is findable here on the UCF website, and again, it will first ask you whether you have already registered to the UCF platform, and therefore you'll be asked to log in before you submit your query, or in case you are not, you can still submit a general query to us through the same help desk before a registration to the UCF platform. Let's not forget that on our website, there are several other supporting tools available, starting from the FAQs, which are updated each and every call. So they have the latest information available for you to apply. Speaking of application, there's a detailed document called Guidelines for Applicants, which is also available on our website that summarizes all the information you have seen today. There's, of course, the investment concept template, which is the template on which you will work in case you get awarded with the EUCF grant to produce indeed your investment concept. There's a knowledge hub containing several different information, and finally a glossary also available for guiding you through the application process of the EUCF. What are country experts and national networks? Being now the fourth call of the EUCF, you might got familiar in these last couple of years with those entities on national level. So let's clarify first, what do they do specifically for you? So country experts are experts available at national level for applicants and for beneficiaries that can support you and assist you in your own language. They can build capacity for you to apply. They are all reachable through our website. You will find the email address of each country expert based on your nationality, and they can be reached out and contacted to support and assist you. Alongside with country experts on national scale, there are what we call the national networks. These are entities that are in charge of providing generic information on the EUCF and support our general centralized management in the dissemination of the project and office calls. So they also organize webinars and info sessions for the launch of each and every call, and they assist, as I said, us into the promotion. So if you want technical assistance on your application, you should reach out for country expert. You should keep updated on your national networks website and channels to get the latest information on the evolution of the EUCF as a project. This is a quick overview by region of the entities I just mentioned. So who and where are they located? In terms of national networks and country expert, respectively in pink and orange here, but I will just go quickly through. This serves to show you that there are a lot and they're reachable, so find out their contacts on our EUCF website. Getting now to what we call the European added value activities, which are activities that will fill up the second phase, what we call the second phase of the EUCF, so the post-investment concept phase. We're opening now the fourth call. The timeline of the EUCF should be clear to you now. Just to remark it, beneficiaries will have 1 year after appointing the grant to produce the investment concept. This means we are now collecting the first investment concept from the first EUCF beneficiaries batch. Once we have collected some and throughout the collection of your investment concept, we will start organizing what we've planned and called as EU added value activities, which are activities aimed at maximizing the impact and the financial leverage of your individual investment concept. That will also try to aggregate the opportunities by region and sector. So looking at the investment concept beneficiaries have produced and try to group them in order to better and easier approach the financial world. It, of course, creates links. By doing this, it creates links between cities and the investor community and facilitate EU-wide activities within cities and energy networks. More in details, let's start with what we call the investor network. So in case you are a potential investor rather than an applicant listening to this webinar, you can find information on what the investor network is on our website. And more important, you can register to it. Investor network will be the base of investors that we will use to match make your investment concept with potential extra sources of financial support. So is been setting up and will continue being setting up, collecting interest potential investors, and they will be used mainly for matchmaking events in this second phase of the EUCF. Once all the investment concepts are, or most of them are ready to be presented to the financial world. So there's a dedicated section of our website in which all investors can, and we strongly recommend to register. On one hand, to keep the latest info available on our investment concept when we start collecting it from new beneficiaries, and secondly, to be in the first place when we will organize matchmaking events with our beneficiary cities. So events will be grouped mainly into communities of practices, which is what we design being capacity building moment of exchange between EUCF beneficiaries with their investment concepts in hands. So we will group them by sector and also by region to discuss and look at the investment concept in order to prepare our beneficiaries to face the investors' world. So communities of practices will start most likely after summer, start grouping the first call and second call beneficiaries, and then we'll be ready to welcome third call beneficiaries and fourth call beneficiaries in a year time from now, when also their investment concepts will be ready. Communities of practices will serve the main purpose of preparing cities and beneficiaries to the matchmaking events. So to the 3 moments of exchange that the UCF will organize between beneficiaries and the financial world potential investors, based on the investor networks that I just explained to you, but also open in continued evolution and increase with new potential investors we are getting in contact with to assist you. The modality and location of these matchmaking events will still depend on the appointing beneficiaries of the fourth call, so we will try to distribute them in the most strategic way. In Europe, there will be hybrid events, so they will be both joinable physically and online for our beneficiaries. As you might have understood from the previous presentations, the investment concept at the end will be nearly 200 for us. So we will need to assess them, group them, work together within the communities of practices to better tailor those events that will take place from now until the end of the project, meaning in a year and a half time from now. I think we still have some time for Q&As now. Where yes, we can still have some time. What I will do now is going through the chat. I will stop sharing my screen at the moment. Going through the chat and starting from those questions we received. Feel free in this last part of the webinar to raise your hand, open your microphone, and ask any question you should have. I also ask my colleagues to support me with the screening of questions through the chat. Some have been answered during the webinar. Okay, let's start with this question. And I think, Carolina, if you're there, you could take this. Can you detail on the cross-region waiting list? How does it work? Meaning less room for new projects for the last call?
We always, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
We always had a waiting list, so it always worked like this. The only, if one of the selected applicants does not sign the grant agreement and does not become a beneficiary, the next one on the waiting list comes up and is contacted by us. The only difference now is that we're not having 3 waiting lists, we're having only 1. So the next applicant will be chosen regardless of the region. Before, we chose an applicant from the same region as the one dropping out. I hope it's clear.
Okay, thanks, Carolina. Stay there because I guess the second one is also for you. Could you provide a practical example on the energy efficiency criteria?
Like in terms of numbers, the division should be more than 50% of the total impact of the total the sum of renewable energy generation and energy savings. More than 50% should be energy savings. So if you have a project with 2 gigawatt-hour a year of energy savings and 20 gigawatt-hour a year of renewable energy generation, this is not okay. This is not accepted. The opposite would be accepted.
Thank you very much. After the call closes in September, when will applicants be notified? Thanks. Well, I guess there we have normally 2 or 3 months time, and I ask my evaluator colleagues to confirm this before providing the results, right?
Yes.
Two months.
2 months.
Yes. Basically, yes, through all the phases, the applicants will be informed, and once the applicant submits the application, will directly receive an email confirming that the application form is submitted, and then usually the evaluation process is is for 2 months lasting, and then the applicants will be again informed and notified.
So let's say for this.
Maybe this is Giustino speaking, Giustino Piccolo from Energy City. Just also a note on this. Indeed, we have 2 months. Please be aware that you will be notified on the email address that you put in the application form. We are not able to notify on another email address because we cannot know that. So in case, for instance, and this has happened in the past several times, you put an email address which is, mayors@city of XY, please make sure that you do check that mailbox, because after the notification, we have a very short time to, in fact, confirm your acceptance of the selection and then start the grant agreement process. So please think about that as well when you fill out your application, and make sure that the email address that you put in your application form is a mailbox that you regularly check and that you have access to. Just also to have this lesson learned.
Indeed, that's very important to remind. So for this call, results will be available as of the end of November. So next question, and this is also probably for energy cities, to clarify what type of organization can act as a local public entity aggregating municipalities or local authorities. Should this entity have some formal link with these municipalities?
Yes, I can take this one once again. We have a list of criteria that are published in the guidelines for applicants and also on our website, and I will put the link in the chat right after my intervention. And the short answer is yes. We are looking for organizations that have not only a formal link, but are in fact officially recognized as a tier of local governments in the different countries, in the country where they are based, which is different from a regional and provincial one, and yet is different from a municipality one. We have also developed a list, a non-exhaustive list of applicants or type of organization that in some of the countries that we know better are eligible, and I really invite you also to check that list. But in general, we have some criteria that you should respect, and you can run your self-evaluation to see if you respect that or not. And also bear in mind that you will need to sign a self-declaration declaring that you in fact fit in this category. And before the grant agreement is in fact prepared, we might ask to the applicants applying in this category to send us official documents that confirm your declaration. Also keep in mind that this organization cannot and must not form a grouping, meaning that you cannot join other municipalities or other organizations like you. So also think about this limitation that this category has.
Thank you very much. I think we can take a question from the audience and then go back reading the ones in the chat. There's Mr. João Silva with his hands raised.
Hi, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, hello, first good morning and thank you for the presentation, which were very helpful to me and to our team. I have two essential questions. The first one concerns to the fact that this funding that the EUCF provides, it's for developing the investment concept. And so my question is, let's imagine that the municipality that applies develops the investment concept, but then for some reason it is not able to proceed with the investment itself. So my question is, there is some obligation when the municipality receives the funding that some obligation that the municipality will then need to continue and to really concretize the investment. So that would be my first question. And the second question, it's about let's imagine that the same municipality wants to subcontract a party to carry the work that it was agreed in the grant agreement. This subcontracting, it's only a matter of the municipality there is some guidelines or rules on how to subcontract. So I mean, they need to open a public tender. They can directly provide a contract to some third party. Yeah, that's it. Basically, those were my two questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Silva. Well, if any of my colleagues want to respond, or I can also take this one. I believe in terms of obligations, of course, there's no obligations in further obtaining leveraging the financial support. That's the goal of the UCF. That's what we're aiming. The obligation is to produce within 1 year time your investment concept following our guidelines and structure. This connecting to the second question you asked, that this can be subcontracted independently by municipalities to third parties eventually, with using the UCF grant. So we will guide you once the investment concept is done through the matchmaking event and the support activities we have planned for the second phase in meeting investors and trying to leverage on your full investment needed, but there's no obligations there. This is something we were aiming at reaching with all our beneficiaries, or most of it, or let's see how good we will be in this. If any of my colleagues want to compliment or has something to say, otherwise we move on with other questions from the chat. So there's a next question reads, local authorities SECAP established an ESCO, so energy saving model based on thermo-isolation, we're getting very technical here, of the buildings, same as the renewable energy. Is it eligible for the fourth call of the UCF? More clearly, 30% of economy of energy from building isolation and 25% from solar energy. Is this acceptable? So I guess, I don't know if Carolina wants to take this. Well, technically I would say yes, but it then depends on the application form. I mean, technically energy savings and renewable generation, it's definitely a target for a UCF application.
If we have projects bundling measures in both areas, so in energy savings and renewable energy generation, then this is okay, and this is also good for the applicant, that they reach more impact.
Thank you, Carolina. Do the new requirements imply that renewable energy community projects may not be approved? Not sure if that means being eligible or not with approved.
Yeah, I think that goes in the same direction. If you are able to bundle, if you have a renewable energy community project that is only generating renewable energy, then no, because the impacts will be higher in renewable energy generation. But if you are bundling it with actions, with measures also, and energy efficiency and aimed at energy savings, then this could be okay.
And somebody's asking us to go back to the budget share for the fourth call and the number of projects that will be submitted. So I'm quickly going back to the beginning of our presentation where the budget was displayed. Here we are. So this is the budget allocated for, no, this is the third call. No, I guess this is a typo. It's the fourth call budget available. So yes, we will, please Energy Cities, correct me if I'm wrong. These were your slides. Total of 48 applicants will be selected for an overall budget of 2.88 millions, distributed like you're seeing now in the map, in the tab throughout the 3 different regions. So these numbers are to balance the previous 3 calls. So that's the ratio behind the distribution of the budget in such way. I go back to the chat to see if there's some new questions. Yes, there are. Could you elaborate more on the activities that are eligible to be funded, such as the feasibility and engineering studies. Maybe give us a couple of examples. So what can beneficiaries really finance with our 60K grant?
So we don't have, we are never asking you to report on how you are spending the money. So there's no no reporting from your side to the UCF. We will never ask you how the grant was used. Important is that it supports anything you need to develop the investment concept. So we have different cases of things that are being done. Feasibility studies are often done for the projects, or more detailed energy audits and calculations of the impacts of the project. Other analysis in terms of the legal aspects, if it's possible to implement the project or not. So all this kind of studies and analyses that help you understand better the project and help you also describe better the project in your investment concept can be funded.
Thanks again, Carolina. Next question is technical and sectorial. So is the replacement of gas boilers by a heat network with geothermal energy as a source exclusively considered an investment in renewable energy? Or can the higher efficiency of the heat pumps also be considered an energy saving investment? I think the answer would be definitely yes here, and it depends on of course, on the application and the action plan itself, how this is described and provided with the right information, but definitely yes. It is possible to find out the results information of previously funded projects. I asked these questions in order to understand possible cooperations with other municipalities in my region. So I guess here also, we are, as I said, we're starting to collect now the first investment concept coming from the first call beneficiaries more than a year ago. So the timeline allows municipalities to work for 1 year on their investment concept. So these results are starting now to be collected by us and will be definitely be publicly available in terms of projects and investment concepts on a dedicated section of our website in the upcoming months, throughout the collection of them, as I said, and this could be a way for municipalities to get to know what other beneficiaries have been doing, and also communities of practices will be in place for a direct exchange between municipalities working in the same sectors and in the same regions.
If I can complement Davide answering to this question, another lesson learned and something you should also, all of you, be aware. Of course, we have the list of the municipalities on our website that have already been granted the support. Just be aware that you can only get UCF support once. So in case you are thinking also about forming a grouping with somebody else, you should in fact make sure that this municipality did not get the UCF support already in another call. This is very important because the whole application then will not be possible to be even submitted and will not be considered. So keep this in mind. It's very good to have a cooperation, and we really encourage you, especially in the case you are a small municipality, to work with other municipalities around you in your area, in your territory, and to prepare a joint application as a grouping. But also be aware that you can only receive the UCF support once throughout the UCF period.
Thank you very much, Justine, for the clarification. Then again, the low emission economy plan for the, apologize for the pronunciation, I would not pronounce it, for a municipality in Poland, was it in force until 2020 and has not been updated. Will this document authorize me to apply? So the question here is having an action plan in force until 2020, but not implemented. Is this okay for applying to the UCF? I guess it might need some tweaking of targets and objectives then, but of course the fact that were actions not yet implemented, still seeking support to be implemented, this qualifies them as eligible as long as they are in line with all the other criteria. Let's say, let's not submit a plan which has a target year which is passed.
Sorry. Yes, the first question.
Justine, you want to add something?
Yeah, also there, maybe just to say, we do have a definition on our website on what we mean with CCAP. So if you have a CCAP or a CIAP or an equivalent plan, to go there and check this definition and see if you comply with that. And then you will need to submit, in fact, the document that will support this this definition. So we cannot, in fact, assess right away this specific case, but really invite you to check our definition and to see if it's in line with what you have, then it's going to be eligible. If it's not in line, it's not going to be eligible.
Okay, then we have a follow-up question, and Justina will remain with us, please, on the budget allocation, following up the double check we had on the budget. Could you please specify why the number of projects that will be selected for the Nordic region is very much lower than for the other regions?
Yeah, I can definitely take this one as well. So this is in fact the result of the application of the formula that we are using to allocate the budget across the different regions. In this call, indeed, the Central Eastern Europe and Southern Europe have a higher investment concept allocated, which was in fact not the case for the other three calls. So overall, we are seeking also a balance across the different regions. So it's not that northern country of Western Europe is heavily penalized in this call, but it was much more favored in the previous calls.
Thanks a lot, and apologize again for the slide that read third call. That was definitely the budget for the fourth call, so the call we're talking about. Screening the chat again. During the whole fourth call procedure, who will be in touch with applicants if something need to be attached or clarified, I guess? Second question, is it okay that you have a waiting list, but is it possible to have more balance between the EU countries? For example, in France, 0 project in the third call. So one question at a time. Who will be in touch with applicants if something needs to be attached or clarified? Maybe these to Carolina. I can also say that you should make use of the help desk as much as you need. So if you have any doubt on your application, please go back and send a query to us to clarify whatever you need to be clarified throughout the process. But please, Carolina, if you want to add something.
David, maybe I will. Sorry,
yes.
I will just add here that it's not that we contact the applicants, but basically if applicants have something that is not clear or they want to ask something, they would have to use the help desk and will be always available to answer. But basically there is in the website, you can find all the information in the guidelines of applicants or FAQs, and all these questions are answered. But however, we also would like to help you through the help desk. So anything you meet and you have problems in the filling of the application form, you can always contact us also later.
So
and also the country expert, if you need support in national language, if you don't want to write in English, you can always contact your country expert. And this balance between the countries. So this is how we have this regional division of the budget and how it's allocated. And within each regional call, we select the best applications. So if this was the case of France in the third call, maybe it's not in the fourth, but we really depend on the quality of the applications within each region.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Carolina was about to remind the use of the country experts. And again, as Katerina said, we are not the ones approaching you throughout the application phase. So we design an application which is pretty straightforward, that only requires the upload of few documents and annexes, which are extensively described on our website. And so we try to ease it as much as possible for you. In case you have any question, help desk and country expert, but we do not follow you in the application by coming back and saying this document is missing. You can always realize on the application platform that something is missing before submitting.
Yeah, and here once again, a lesson learned. If something is not clear, do make use of these services that we have at end. Do not submit documents that you think might fill the definition if you're not sure about that, because this will exclude you from the selection process. So do contact your country expert, do contact us through the help desk in case you have a doubt, you know, in case you have something that you're not sure about. Make use of these services, because we really want to make sure that the application that we receive are of good quality and we are able to evaluate all of them. Also, please read the guidelines in greater detail, check the templates that we have at our disposal on the website. For this call, we have quite a long application period, so do not rush through the application, but make sure that the applications are good, especially because, as you have noticed, we have a regional approach, which is not a country approach, as Carolina said. So we are selecting and granting, in fact, the best applications, those that will have higher score. So make sure that you comply with all the criteria and that your projects are solid enough to then have a chance to pass.
Then there's a question about the list of beneficiaries on our website, and please feel free to write us. I'm speaking with Chiara Candelise now. To write as which municipality. You can chat me privately and we will double check. These are lists constantly updated from our side, so it might be that something got missed or there are some bug on the website, so please let us know and we will double check that all beneficiaries are correctly listed there. Then another question. After the first call, national networks received a report from the UCF team with the information on how many applicants were there from each country and how many were selected, and some other statistical information. Unfortunately, this is not the case for the second and third call. These kind of reports are very useful for national networks in targeting the eligible applicants. So this is not a question for beneficiaries. I don't know which of my colleagues wants to take this, but I can ensure there's a constant contact with national networks. Don't know exactly on all the type of information shared, but in case there's any specific request from a national network, can always be addressed to us. I mean, we have direct channel of communication with all our national networks, and we can definitely respond and provide necessary information for you to better promote UCF in your country. So then there's a follow-up question by Chiara. For Italy, I'm talking about Mayor of Milan. I would be very interested to know the focus of their projects to avoid duplication. Thank you. So I'm not quite sure about the sharing of information, and maybe some of my colleagues can pick up on that. What I can say, it's definitely that there's almost never an issue of duplication. So the assessment we do on all the applications received, as we mentioned and stressed several times, it's a quality check mainly, so we have thresholds and the best applications get awarded. So there's no check on possible duplication of sectors or projects or idea. It's in that sense, my colleague can correct me if I'm wrong, but a beneficiary should not be worried about that, but the fact of duplicating something that some other cities has already submitted, as long as the quality is high and better than others, will be awarded with the grant.
Yeah, maybe just again to clarify, what for sure will not be eligible is to have, again, for instance, a project in the same municipality on the territory of the same municipality, you know, because this will basically create a double funding, and you will need then to attach the same documents, which we are funding only once. Like the CCAP is going to be one because there is one municipality. The letter of the mayor is going to be one mayor because it's the same mayor. So pay attention to these cases as well.
Definitely the case. So I did not consider duplication of the same region, same people involved in the same projects, but yeah, avoid that, please. But in case it's not, if this is not the case, then don't worry about the content of your project in terms of technology and actions to be implemented. We will definitely double check the list of municipalities, but again, if you have spotted any possible mistake or error, please let us know precisely which city you're mentioning. You can always write me or any of my colleagues privately. I think we scroll down till the end of the chat and we still have few more minutes, a couple of more minutes.
There was another question that we in fact answered during the presentation, or maybe if you have 1 minute, we can just make sure that also this is clear at the very beginning. Somebody was asking about the language of the CCAP and the CCAP.
Yes, we replied because Karina was mentioning this few slides before, but let's go back to that.
Yeah. So the CCAP, in fact, we do acknowledge that it's going to be in your national language. However, we do ask for an English summary. We have a template for that. And you have to submit that information as well, but we do not ask you to translate your whole plan for us in the language. Also, if your CCAP is developed within the Covenant of Mayors, that's most likely not going to have any problem, so it's fine. But indeed, there is this very short summary that you need to submit to help us also understand where the project is framed.
Okay, it seems there's no more questions. I would then close the webinar here. Good luck with your applications. Please remember, country expert on national level in your own languages, help desk queries. Either you are an applicant already or you're not, you can always reach out to us through the help desk or contacting your national network. The list of contacts for national networks is also available on the UCF website. This webinar and the slides will be uploaded shortly after the closing of the webinar on our website as well. Thank you very much, everyone, and good luck with your application.